Hi, I'm Lizzie and this is Laura, and we are currently on board Ambassador's Ambition. Today is day 4 of a 6-day spring getaway, and today we are in Guernsey.
If you're new to our channel, we release a new cruise or travel related video every week, so please do consider subscribing so that you don't miss out.
For those of you that don't know, Guernsey is a tender port, which means the ship anchors out at sea and then you travel in a boat to the mainland.
As we arrived into Guernsey this morning, the weather was quite bad. We've been looking out the window and thought the sea does look a bit rough, so we were quite surprised to hear that the tender operation was going ahead and that we would be able to proceed ashore. Guernsey is notoriously difficult to get into via tender, and we have missed it as a port a few times, so it was a pleasant surprise that we were going to be able to get there today.
Just like yesterday morning, there was an announcement into the cabin at just after 8 o'clock. Then there were further announcements being made, which you couldn't hear in the cabin, but you could hear that they were being made on the corridor.
So we got ourselves ready and headed up for breakfast in the buffet. The selection available in the buffet is pretty much what you'd expect from a British cruise line. So there's cooked breakfast items such as sausages, bacon, eggs and beans. You can also find a selection of pastries, fruits and some meats and cheeses.
You can also have freshly cooked omelettes there, and he will also do you fried eggs. While we were eating breakfast, there was another announcement saying that it was a slow tendering process today, and for people to allow others who were going on excursions to get off the ship first.
There was then a further announcement to say that there was some trouble getting into the harbour area because there was quite a lot of traffic around, so tendering would be further delayed. So while we were waiting, we popped into the cabin and there was morning trivia going on.
We decided to join in with the trivia. We were hoping that we wouldn't embarrass ourselves, which we don't think we did, getting 15 out of 20, and actually quite enjoyed the start to the day.
Then we headed down and joined the queue for the tenders. This stretched around the Purple Turtle wine bar and we were quite far to the end. The person at the front of the queue directing it advised us essentially that we wouldn't be getting on the next tender and it would be the one after that that we would probably get onto. We waited for a little while and the queue didn't move at all, so we assumed that there weren't any tenders operating at this point. So we decided to give up then, move on and perhaps come back a little bit later.
We wasted some time by sitting in the Clifton and just had a couple of soft drinks. While we were sat there, we were watching the tenders outside, and by this point we were thinking maybe it wasn't a good idea to go ashore today. But we decided to give it another go and went and joined the queue again. We
went back to join the queue, which was a lot smaller at this point. So some tenders had obviously gone out or people had given up. And we stood there again for a little while and again, the queue didn't really seem to move.
We were still watching the tenders that were out at sea and they looked like they were struggling, to be honest, and the sea was very, very rough. So we just decided it wasn't really worth the hassle and went off to get ourselves some lunch.
We then decided to head to the main dining room for lunch. Now, lunch in the main dining room is described by the staff as a semi-buffet. So you get buffet food for your starter and your dessert, and then your main, you order off menu and it's served to you.
We decided not to have a starter because we didn't fancy the soup or the salad selection that is there, and went straight for our main courses. We both chose the same, which was a chicken and cheeseburger and chips. However, when it came, we had no cheese on it.
While we were eating our lunch, a further announcement was made about the tender operations, just to let us know that they were going to stop tendering people out to Guernsey, and instead they were going to focus on getting people back because the conditions had worsened even further and it was becoming increasingly difficult out there.
We headed back to Clifton because we quite like sitting there. Lots of people will sit and chat with you there, and you can get gin in a proper gin glass here. So we just had a couple of gins in there while chatting to other people, and this is when we started to hear some of the stories from other passengers about their tender journeys.
We heard various stories about long waits. The longest wait that we heard of was one particular tender where the tender was essentially circling the ship for almost 2 hours trying to get back towards the tender platform so that they could unload the passengers.
Some guests, unfortunately for them, then suffered from seasickness because of it, because they were out at sea for so long and it was very rough. And essentially, we are pretty glad that we made the decision not to get off, because we would not have been very, very happy at all.
We were so surprised that they went ahead with the tender operation today, just from looking at the sea ourselves from the windows of the ship. we thought the sea looked very, very rough. We could see the way that boats were bobbing around on it. You know, we're no experts, but we did think it was probably a tough decision there to go out to sea on those tenders.
We then decided to just pop up and have a look what was on offer for afternoon tea today, and grabbed a very small selection of things to eat.
They had the usual selection in there of scones, some small cakes and some small sandwiches, as well as some warmer food, which included a mushroom and cheese pastry, which Lizzie really enjoyed.
We had a quick nap then before getting ready for the evening, and we met Dan and Jay from Sail Away magazine in Pendennis Bar, where we sat and enjoyed music from Jamie Lees, who is on the piano. He is extremely talented, and lots of guests have spoken to us about him because they really enjoy his music.
We had dinner in the main dining room again tonight. Our main dining room is the Buckingham dining room, and to be honest, this wasn't the best meal that we've had on board the ship.
We both had the same starter today, which was called Grandma's chicken noodle soup. To be honest, it wasn't the tastiest thing I've ever eaten. And then for my main, I had beef bourguignon, which wasn't at all nice. Lots of the food on here is quite soft, and it was quite a mushy dinner. And then I finished off with yet another cheese plate. You can't go wrong with them. They are actually quite nice.
For my main, I had another fish dish, which was the sea bream. This was quite nice. I just haven't really been a big fan of the potatoes getting on board. They're either mashed or crushed or pureed. There hasn't been like a solid potato to eat during this cruise. And for dessert, I ordered a chocolate fudge sundae, which was not that when it was received at the table. The ice cream in there, I had no idea what it was, to be honest, when I first tried it. There was a funny texture in there that I wasn't keen on, and we asked the waiter what it was, and he told us that it was rum and raisin, which was not what was advertised on the menu, so I wouldn't have chosen that had I known.
We then headed to the cavern because tonight was karaoke night, and we always love watching other passengers sing on karaoke. We always find it to be quite a fun environment where people are having a good time together, enjoying listening to different people's ability at singing, and just generally having a good time. However, during this, we did get asked to be quiet by another passenger on board, and we weren't exactly being particularly loud. We were just enjoying what we were seeing and discussing what was happening.
We thought it was a little bit strange because, like we said, karaoke is supposed to be good fun and everybody enjoying themselves, and so it put a little bit of a dampener on our evening because we felt like we couldn't join in and get involved anymore.
We then decided to head to the Pendennis Bar, and as we were going there, we discovered the canapes. So we were very excited to see these because we hadn't really eaten very much for our dinner, and the waiters came and brought them straight to us in Pendennis and were having a bit of a laugh and a joke with us.
As we talk about the canapes, just to clarify what you get on that platter, essentially you get some chicken nuggets, some little mini sausage rolls. There was also a selection of sort of vegetarian offerings like samosas and various little bits and bobs like that you just would sort of pick off a buffet, I suppose.
We were sat well around the corner from where Jamie Lees was playing on the piano, and then after we were having a laugh and joke with these other members of staff, another member of staff came over to ask us to be quiet. Now, this is the second time in one night and we're not being boisterous, we're just having a good time. So we're not really sure where you're allowed to go to sit and talk on the night because you just seem to get told to be quiet.
We have found this a little bit odd because when we're on a cruise, we do usually speak to fellow passengers and, you know, we'll have a chat, and usually when music is being played in a lounge, it is background music. It's not like watching a theatre performance where we, you know, obviously would sit in silence to watch that. So we were a little bit upset, to be honest, by this, and as we've said, we weren't being particularly loud, we were just enjoying ourselves.
We then stayed in Pendennis Bar, as I said, around the corner away from everybody else, so just sat there, had a chat and had a couple more drinks before heading off to bed. Despite not being able to get to Guernsey today, we have still managed to enjoy our day. The majority of people that we've sat and chatted to have been lovely, and we've really enjoyed getting to know passengers around the ship. However, we find it quite difficult to know now where we're supposed to sit to have a chat to people because we don't want to be spoken to, like basically like we're children and getting told off. We want people to be enjoying their nights out, and we want to be able to enjoy it ourselves too. Ambassador's slogan is enjoy yourself, so that is all we are trying to do.
Tomorrow we'll be in Plymouth, which is another tender port, so hopefully we'll have a bit more success with tendering off the ship. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like, drop any questions you've got in the comments down below, and please do make sure you subscribe to our channel. If you'd like to follow us on social media, you can find us by searching Sisters on the Seas.